What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're going to be rumbling in the Ultra League with Big Daddy Shadow Golurk. I wanted an excuse to use this thing. Honestly, it's one of those Pokemon that I've wanted to use, but I can never really seem to find the right team or really the right anything to put it with. So I went ahead and just gave it a try today just because I wanted to play some sets with it. And I went ahead and paired it with my Galarian Moltres, something I got in a trade from a friend. IVs are okay at best, but it still hits 2,500 or so, so it's going to be fine for this. If you don't have a Moltres, which I understand if you don't, I still don't have one for Great League. I've not found a single one since they released the shiny, and I would just say you could use pretty much any solid flyer that isn't critically weak to ice, as Moltres doesn't really love ice, but it's not so bad. And then also you want to be able to have something on the save swap that will pull out a fighting type, because Moltres doesn't particularly like those. And I've elected to use my Miltank here, rolling double nukes on my Miltank. I don't know what it is about Miltank, but the Thunderbolt Ice Beam coverage is just really good in the Ultra League, because it seems like whenever something counter swaps into it, always you're going to find that somebody doesn't want to deal with one of those two moves. So we're going to be playing this team here, going on an 8-2 run in this video. Had some other positive sets afterwards, but these were the ones that I wanted to showcase with the team. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles here. We're going to start with our first game against... oh, you know him. He's here. Oh, baby. Zygarde's here, and we have Ice Beam for this thing. Now, opponent is... the thing with Miltank on the save switch, you want to be very careful of. Opponents will typically try to catch one of the two moves, so I like over-farming it first, especially when you have a super effective move against their lead. And the damage that I'm doing here, like, there are going to be definitely some times where I wish I had Body Slam. If you want to pick and choose one or the other, you could do Thunderbolt or Body Slam, or Ice Beam Body Slam. But personally, I just prefer rolling double nukes because it keeps people guessing. They'll see one and assume that maybe I have the other, but in reality, I have both. So we are going to be pulling out a Galarian Wheezing with this Miltank safe switch here, and thankfully we do, because that is exactly what we need to get Moltres cleared up to go into the rest of this game here. I'm going to let this go. It's a brutal swing. We actually live this, and I can fully farm down and have an Ice Beam loaded for the Zygarde, which is going to come back in and look to shield. What? That is Miltank. You're going to find that this, my daughter, this little girl here, she has recently started playing Pokemon Crystal, and she has not made it to Whitney yet, but my goodness, is she going to find out what kind of a horror that Miltank is, and I'm going to let her find out just the way I found out. But, yes, Miltank is going to be a nightmare. That is Moltres. You know that one from your Pokemon anime. And this one up here is Golurk.
Oh.
Yeah. So, basically, we're looking to sweep here with the Moltres, and we ended up getting Moltres here with a shield advantage. We just need to land a Brave Bird. What?
Those are big.
They are. They're very big Pokemon. Golurk has big, meaty fists, which he's going to use to punch this Tentacruel into next week. The opponent brings in Tentacruel, and they are weak. There's a very common core with Zygarde and Tentacruel. And
that one is a kill.
Yeah, he's kind of little. I mean, he's a cow. Scald is going to nearly one-shot us here, but it's going to bring it low enough to the point where the Moltres can simply just go for the farm down, and we can launch a big, fat Brave Bird into the Zygarde. And just because I love dicking on Zygarde as much as I love getting his Bastiodons in Great League. Not even a KO, but we're still going to hit the button because we have the Ancient Power ready to go. Yes. Right, honey. Baby girl. We'll play the music after we're done with the video, because we got to record the video. Anyway, next battle up. We got Golurk into Greninja. This thing core breaks my team. I'm going to safe switch into... Huh?
What is that Pokemon?
That one's Greninja. We're going to safe switch into the Miltank. We have Thunderbolt. If they come in with something that's going to get away with energy, I'm kind of hosed here. But opponent is going to go ahead and try to make that catch. They go into a Drapion. And I'm like, okay, this is possibly playable depending on what happens here. Miltank is going to be able to handle some energy, but that is Drapion, and Drapion is going to be able to get moves out very quickly here and make things kind of uncomfortable, as I need to basically find a way to strip shields off my opponent. And unfortunately, Miltank just really isn't going to have the power behind it to do it. So I don't mind having something like Licky Licky here. I actually try to go for a catch, or not a catch, but just a snipe down, but my opponent is going to be able to get to the crunch here. That'll nearly knock us out. And I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just hoping to get to a move. Can't even get to a move because of the defense drop from crunch. Not even a chance. I'm just going to top left. Opponent can have that one. Good game. Next game, we got Golurk into a Guzzlord. Guzzlord is a big dragon with a big face, and it is going to eat everything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw 4 moves, my Mud Slaps, and then I'm going to swap to try and catch a Brutal Swing onto my Miltank. We have Ice Beam for the Guzzlord here, and a lot of the times they'll have a Poison type in the back, so something like Tentacruel or even Feraligatr is a common save switch for a Guzzlord lead. So the opponent staying in here is making me think that they may have one of the two, but they actually have a Weezing in the back. So once again, our Miltank is going to pull out the Weezing here, and that's going to be good for us because that keeps it away from the Galarian Moltres that we have. Now I'm going to be going for good timing. I know the opponent, if they go for Brutal Swing, not going to be enough to get a knockout here. So we're going to be able to pull off a couple of Thunderbolts, and I'm going to swap right into my Golurk, and I'm going to invest both Protect Shields here in order to try and make this happen, because I don't really want my Moltres stuck on their Guzzlord with shields up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to bring in my Golurk here in an attempt to try and pull that thing back out and go for those shields. The opponent did, I believe, throw energy before swapping out. So do not touch my power button, you little imp. We're going to be able to get a shield here, and I'm going to go for the second Shadow Punch. Any damage here is good for me, as I would really like to get rid of this thing. The opponent knows it's just a Shadow Punch, and they just let it go. So we're going to let it go as well. Obviously, we don't have a choice. We don't have any shields, right? We used them already. But now they're in a range where I might be able to get a Sucker Punch down or roll out, you know, some rollout farm. Opponent's going to go into the Feraligatr here. I can't really afford to catch on my Miltank at the moment. But I'm going to go ahead and get there, trying to catch the Hydro Cannon or Ice Beam. But the opponent overfarms, but they overfarm by just too much, and unfortunately for them, they let the Thunderbolt go. That was definitely a mistake on their part. We're going to be able to take the energy now on our Miltank at last, and we are 1 away from the Brave Bird, unfortunately. I actually don't remember who wins cap here. I think it's Moltres, but Ice Beam's going to do a ton of damage, but I just need to make sure they can't go for a catch, and they don't. They actually stay in, and I'm going to go for the Ancient Power. This has got to be enough, otherwise I'm going to have a bad time. Moltres is going to be able to get the opponent out of here. Their Feraligatr's gone, and now we're only 2 away from the Ancient Power, so the perfect overfarm here is going to get us the win against this Guzzlord. Well played to the opponent. We got the next game up here. Golurk is going to be facing off against the Feraligatr. Psych, no it's not. I'm swapping into my Miltank right away here, as I don't really like this matchup for Golurk. I don't want to be taking that super effective fast move damage if I don't have to. Opponent's going to swap into Cobalion, and I'm in tears at this point. Golurk completely walls the energy on this thing, so it would have been nice to be able to get this in the lead, but it is what it is. We pulled this out. Again, Cobalion is another really strong answer to Moltres. That's why we enjoy pulling these things out with Miltank. And again, you could absolutely use a Licky Licky here in place of the Miltank if you'd like, because you do have access to some probably better overall charge moves in Earthquake and Shadow Ball. I just like to use my Miltank because, as I was saying earlier, my daughter just started Crystal, and I'm like, man, Miltank is my vibe right now. So I'm going to give it a shot here, and we're going to be able to farm down the opponent's Cobalion. And what I like to do here, especially with these Gator leads, is swap out immediately, try to get some energy here, and be able to hit this Feraligatr. Now, they have so much energy on this thing that they can go for a move here, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for 1 and then the Shadow Punch, and that's going to allow me to get a little bit of energy as well as some damage, and Shadow Punch is likely to get the shield. Now that we're even shields, I'm going to pop in with my Moltres and start to get these Sucker Punches. This thing is already now in Shadow Punch range, and I'm going to keep that in mind as this game continues. I'm going to let this go because I hope that whatever's in the back I can deal with my Golurk. But opponent stays in. We're going to do the exact same thing as last time, overfarm to match the Hydro Cannon. The opponent does let that go, and they have a Skeledirge in the back. I'm going to go for the Ancient Power. We're only 4 away. We're going to be able to get to the move cleanly before their Incinerate goes through, and now the final shield is gone, but we can get to a Shadow Punch. The opponent tries to make a catch, but unfortunately it's not going to happen for him, and they lose to that. The threat of that Shadow Punch. Good game. What's slurping your milk, boy? Goodness. Next game, we got Typhlosion on the lead. We got Miltank to deal with the opponent's Feraligatr. They are going to be able to land some Hydro Cannons here, but thankfully, Miltank having that normal typing is going to double resist the Shadow Claws, and the non-Shadows Hydro Cannons does not, you need 3 of them. You can't really do that much damage to the Miltank. The Shadow, nearly 2 shots, I believe, with the Shadow Claws, it can do okay, but it's about the same with Licky Licky, right? That bulk is very similar. We get the Thunderbolt through, and I can just, I can farm down here if I want to. I have to make a choice. I'm going to go ahead and go for Switch. The opponent's Typhlosion in the lead. Would be nice to not have to deal with that thing hitting me with Thunder Punches on my Moltres, and so they're going to come in now with Annihilape, and Annihilape is okay for me here because I can safely put my Moltres on the Annihilape, and I'm going to immediately, however, switch into my Golurk because now that I've seen their whole team, I can put a lot of pressure on them with Golurk. I consider no shielding the Rage Fist here, but I'm just going to go ahead and shield up here because I can go for 2 Shadow Punches, get both shields off of the opponent, and then Moltres with Ancient Power and Brave Bird, when the shields are down, that thing is going to do a lot of work, and I know that the opponent is basically going to need another 2 counters to get to this Rage Fist, and then they're basically just going to be forced to go for it here. So that's fine. They don't have any energy. This is a perfect farm down range for Moltres if they decide to stay in. Otherwise, they need 2 moves on the Typhlosion in order to knock out. The opponent realizes that they're not getting any farm downs. We're going straight for this Brave Bird here to get this, hopefully, a knockout. Ancient Power would be super effective, but the damage from it is not so great. So we're going to go for the Brave Bird. That's going to get the knockout and the farm down from Annihilape, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. And that's a close of the first set here. We pick up a 4-1. We move right into the next one with Golurk up against a Feraligatr. These were all over the place, and I didn't realize, you know, I surprisingly was able to make my way through them, but my goodness, this one hurts. This one hurts. The Annihilape, and then I let a counter through by accident. I'm so, like, I'm good sometimes, and I'm bad other times with the timing with these switch-ins. But opponent's going to go for a move at this point. Like, if you want to throw close combat, go for it. Otherwise, it's a Rage Fist, and I can go for another Thunderbolt. My daughter is adorably walking around with a Squishmallow that's at least 3/4 the size of her. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, we're going to be able to get this Thunderbolt off. The opponent does live, unfortunately for us. I'm going to have to come in with my Golurk here, and I'm just going to have to absorb a move or shield it. I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to let it go and just put my trust in Moltres. The Rage Fist does nearly knock out, but Golurk has just enough bulk to make a difference here, and the opponent has a Drapion in the back, and I really need to land a Brave Bird, and that's about the only way that I win this game. So opponent throws first here. That's fine with me, because if I'm going to throw this Brave Bird, I would much rather they go for the Aqua Tail first. I'm going to go for the Brave Bird. The only chance I have at winning this game is if this lands, and even then, because it's a non-shadow, that actually is going to set them up to get both my shields because of the defense drop. So unfortunately, because the switch timer is not even close to being up, I have no hope of swapping out of this matchup and trying to realign anything, and even if I do, I mean, you know, the opponent's just going to have me dead to rights here. So the Feraligatr up 2 shields at this point kind of just hoses me, so they're going to get the farm down. I'm quitting because I couldn't get the snipe down, and they're going to go ahead and take that game. Well played to them. We call that nice alignment, but they still played it really well. So, speaking of bad alignment here, we have another one where Dragonite's on the lead. We're going to go straight to the Miltank. Opponent's going to swap into a Nidoqueen. She has not been sighted in months, trainers. I haven't seen a Nidoqueen in so long. I miss it. I loved running Nidoqueen back in its prime. It was one of my favorite Pokemon, but they do respect the Ice Beam here, and we are going to get a shield from the opponent. I'm going to go ahead and let this move go. Poison Fang is not something I need to worry about, and an Earth Power, I probably would have lived that if they had thrown one, but they're going to go for another move here, and I'm just going to be like, you know what? I think I might live this. I'm going to go ahead and try and see. Poison Fang is going to do just enough damage to get us within range of 1 Poison Jab down, but we have the Ice Beam, so we're going to be able to let it rip. Ice Beam is going to do a ton of damage to this Nidoqueen, and we're going to be able to fully farm it down. We get shield advantage and a farm down here, and I'm going to go for the Shadow Punch because the opponent swapped out of the Dragonite pretty quickly. They're not going to be at a Dragon Claw yet, so I can go ahead and go for the Shadow Punch and then swap into Moltres and hope that up a shield, we're going to be fine here. The opponent has a Typhlosion, and the win condition to me is clear. We're going to go for the Ancient Power before they can go for their third Incinerate, as they could just go for the Thunder Punch here, but either way, I'm just saving both of my shields for Golurk, because all I have to do now that I've gotten that final shield is farm them down, go for a Shadow Punch, and that's going to be the game right there. So well played to the opponent. The win condition here is very much just relying on Big Daddy Shadow Golurk here and going for that Shadow Punches. We've already got it loaded. We have a shield up. Everything is good in our favor, and we're going to take that game. Well played to the opponent. Playing out of miserable alignment, but we're taking it because really the fighting and ghost energy from Golurk is always going to go somewhere for the exact same reason as to why Annihilape and Primeape are so good. The fighting and ghost coverage is almost completely, no, it is completely unwallable in this format as of yet. Now, the opponent sends in an Annihilape here after landing that Hydro Cannon. I am going to get farmed down here most likely, but I'm going to try to fight for it. The opponent actually going to go for energy because they don't want to give me a farm, but that's fine. They're going to go for the Rage Fist. They will get a farm down here. Unfortunately, it's just enough before we can get to an Ancient Power, but Golurk's going to come in, and it double resists the counters, and we're going to be doing just fine here. I can go ahead and keep track of their energy counters, thankfully. It's 6 to the Rage Fist. I believe it's 7 to just about everything else. They have landed 2. I'm going to go for 3 more Mud Slaps. I could have gotten away with going for 4, but I wasn't 100% sure if they had thrown right away or not. So we're going to be able to land a Shadow Punch here or strip the final shield off of the opponent. And then we're going to be able to come in with the Miltank and just start going to work here. Opponent's going to be looking for some energy, and they're going to have a Hippowdon in the back. We have Ice Beam for this too. Don't disrespect my cow. Whitney, let me have it on a lease. And boy, was it worth it. Because Miltank is doing work. We're going to be able to absorb any one move here. They're going to go for Scorching Sands. They have to. Weather Ball here would just be silly. Thankfully, we don't get the attack drop either. Going to overfarm by just a little bit. And I could go for this Ice Beam here. I'm going to save my shield for Golurk here. Trying to see if I can't get a farm down. Opponent's basically just now getting to a move the Scorching Sands, or if they're going to go for the Weather Ball bait, that would be good for us as well. They're going to full send the Scorching Sands. We respect that. Golurk's going to come in, but the opponent concedes, knowing that all we have to do is farm down and land that Shadow Punch, and that's a good game. Next game up, we got Golurk into a Steelix, the dream lead, especially if it's got Thunderfang, which it seems to. Opponent safe switches into Golurk, and we're just going to counter swap in the Moltres here, and we're just going to obliterate this thing. Now, however, this is a good play by the opponent, because now that the Moltres is out on the field, Steelix completely walls this energy because we're not running payback on the Moltres. So I'm going to farm up to nearly double moves here, and then I'm going to go for a couple of Brave Birds. I'm just going to soften this thing up and then let Golurk come back in. We do have 2 shields to hide behind still, and I have a lot of bulk in my Miltank, so I'm really okay with this in this team, just sending all of the shields to Golurk here. Now, opponent does have, I believe, enough for a crunch. I'm going to go ahead and let this go because if it's a crunch, I think we're fine. It's a non-shadow Steelix, but they go for the Psychic Fangs and then come in with a Malamar. Those Psy Waves do a lot of damage. They're adding up very quickly, especially with that defense drop. So I'm going to have to go in with Miltank here. Would have really much rathered have let Moltres come in here and deal with this thing. But unfortunately, we had to put that because I didn't really have another answer to Golurk. I could have stayed in, gone for a Shadow Punch, and then maybe gone to Miltank or something. But like that would have been a really risky play because they usually have Dynamic Punch. And like the only play that I really had available to me was going into Moltres there. There just really wasn't another play. But the play that I have here to end this game is quite easy to me. And that's going to be tank the superpower or the whatever move. The Steelix is going to come in. We're going to go for the Golurk here. And I just need to get to 2 Shadow Punches. And that should be hopefully within the realm of possibility given that Golurk can generate energy lightning quick with those Mud Slaps. And we're going to need just a couple more Mud Slaps to get to the Shadow Punches. We're going to get there with 3, get there with plenty of HP to live a couple more Psy Waves coming our way here. Shadow Punch number 1 is going to get the shield off of the opponent. And Shadow Punch number 2. Golurk with those big, meaty fists, just giving him a quick 1-2. Nearly knocking over the things on my desk in the process. That's a good game. Well played to the opponent. Jerked so hard that my stuff on my desk shook. We got a Clefable in the lead in the next game. Really bad lead for the Moltres in the back here, so we have to stay in. And I'm going to go ahead and just throw on good timing here if I can. So the opponent actually goes for a move here, and we kind of suboptimal timing here. They're going to go for the Meteor Mash. I can go for 1 and then the Shadow Punch, and I can do that a couple of times. The opponent actually throws in their Malamar here to catch the move, and we're going to be able to respond with the Moltres, and honestly, this is a full farm down opportunity. I have not used this Moltres very much, so I'm not as familiar with the matchups and how much damage it's done. Moltres is just another one of those Pokemon that, like, it's really good, but I can never make it work in Go Battle League, but now that I know how much that superpower does, I'm pretty confident I can just farm all the way down here, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Malamar is going to go down to the Sucker Punches, and we have nearly 2 Brave Birds here, and I'm full sending them both at this Clefable if it comes back in, which it does. Clefable is going to have to shield at least 1 or both of these, and that's fine with me. Now their final Pokemon is in play, and it's a Golurk. We're going to be going for the Brave Bird here. I'm like, you're going to shield something. But we have Golurk of our own, and we also have a Miltank with Ice Beam, which we can comfortably get to an Ice Beam here. But the amount of energy that we had from Golurk earlier is going to allow us to get to double Shadow Punch, I believe, before the opponent will, as we swapped out with 3 Shadow Punches from the Moltres. We went for enough sucker punches so that they would only have 3 mud slaps worth of energy. So we were 1 ahead of the Golurk the entire time. We swap it in, go for the shadow punches. We're going to take the game from this opponent here, and they conceded as well. Good game to the opponent, well played. We're going to be able to take another 4-1 set here, getting up to pretty close to another run at the Expert ELO range here, as we're going to be able to get over 2767 ELO. That's going to get us over Expert. So if you're trying to push for Expert in Ultra League before the Master League rotation, you're just not jiving with Love Cup, and give this team a try. It certainly did well enough for me, and I think that the meta's pretty ripe for all 3 of these Pokemon to have a really good function one way or the other. So that's going to do it for me for today's video, guys. Thank you as always for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye. Wait. Oh, you want to show them? Okay. Well, if you stuck around this long, you can see the beautiful Sprigatito and Fuecoco coins that my daughter has so lovingly collected. One of them, the Fuecocos are brothers, but all right. That's okay? All right.
You love them?
They love them. I love them, and they love them. All right. We're going to see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye.